I'm Dave Rousseau, and I'm the founder of Out Loud, a cultural evolution. I'm happy to see everyone here today. Welcome and thank you for coming. And thank you for braving not only the heat, but the extreme lack of parking. On May 1st, I had an idea. And being too stupid to realize it was impossible, I set out to develop an event that would showcase the creative achievements of the larger queer community. It is our hope that this first festival will not only entertain, but educate and motivate. We have a history, and it's past time we share that history, not only with the general community, but also with ourselves. This is a time of challenge. There are those who simply want us gone. Remember Stonewall, the Holocaust, war protests, the AIDS crisis, the assassination of Harvey Milk. Campuses exploded. Musicians warned. Artists boldly confronted. And literature scolded. The creative community agitated for change and shook our collective conscience. We can be a powerful voice for change, but must never be complacent or believe that the rights we have won are inviolable. Art, music, literature hold a mirror up to the world and reflect our lives. We hope to show you some of that here today and send you back out into that hot sun with a greater appreciation for yourself and this community. You have received your programs, I hope. Everyone has their program. And that program contains profiles and bios on everyone that's here. Our actors, our musicians, our artists. In fact, there's 2 different programs. And we invite you to make yourself familiar with those profiles. In the interest of time, I'm going to just introduce the performers on stage in the hope and belief that you've read their profile in the program. On and around the stage are some fantastic artworks, displays from 14 artists, some of which will be displayed at the reception at the center next door after this event. Our first guest is Professor Gregory Mattson, who will share with us some of his thoughts on culture, community, and the arts. Gregory.
Hello, everybody. So this is a very interesting topic for me. I'm a professor of cultural anthropology, and so spend a lot of my time thinking about issues of power relationships, of race, ethnicity, gender, and sexuality. So as a little bit more? How's that? Okay. No problem. So as a gay man and as an anthropologist, this particular topic spoke very heavily to me. One of the things that I've always said about queer people, the entire LGBT community, is that we have a unique position among minorities. That unlike virtually every other marginalized group, nearly all of us are immigrants to our own culture. Being raised by straight people, we typically inherit heteronormative views of gender and sexuality. As we become adults, though, we come to learn new ways of understanding ourselves, our gender and sexuality by encountering others like ourselves. We learn new ways of being, like we learn a second language, even as we embrace often long-standing and insistent knowledge of who we are. Like all minority groups, we understand the majority better than they understand us. And like all minority groups, we are the best at articulating our own stories. With this in mind, it should be no surprise that the LGBT community have more than their fair share of poets, painters, and playwrights. With our double vision, including the cultural viewpoints we were raised with, as well as the ones we live in, we have a unique insight into the complexities of our world. Queer artists continually provide useful insight into social and political issues, as well as providing a balm to those afflicted by existing power relationships. Many of us found the writing or images of queer artists a welcome oasis while growing up in heteronormative contexts. Yet, at the same time, the LGBT artists that have achieved the most success have often had to sacrifice something essential to their identities. While there is no denying that queer poets and painters are increasingly visible within the art world as well as mainstream media, queer artists often mask elements of our art to make it more palatable to straight audiences. While personal authenticity is frequently praised, presenting our true selves doesn't always lead to financial success within the art world. Our vision is important, whether it's providing needed criticism to binary and hierarchical views of gender, or presenting the manifold ways we find emotional and erotic fulfillment. It is necessary both within our own communities, and it is necessary for the larger society we exist within. It is needed by gay, bisexual, and transgender youth, who often are desperate to see people like themselves in the visions of others. Any social scientist can tell you that seeing positive images of ourselves reflected in media is crucial to mental health. We owe it to the health and well-being of our community to continue to create work that portrays us in all of our diversity and beauty. And whether they agree or not, it is necessary for straight and cisgender people as well. To those of you who question whether or not straight people will be interested, I quote a friend who's a queer person of color. I've been watching straight white media my entire life and finding ways to get invested in straight characters and storylines, in reference to the current program Pose, featuring transgender and queer people of color. I imagine many of you can sympathize. The majority of us have spent our time reading and watching material about straight people. Why should it be so difficult to engage the minds of heterosexual and cisgender people? Especially given the fact that we have more knowledge of their cultural upbringing than they do of ours. I don't claim to know all the answers or have all the solutions. What I will encourage, though, is the following. Queer poets, novelists, painters, designers, please continue your work, even if it makes straight people uncomfortable, especially if it makes straight people uncomfortable. Give us your homoerotic, your gender non-conforming masses yearning to breathe free. Along with this encouragement, though, I think it is only fair to call those in the LGBT community to support this work. We owe it to ourselves to provide backing, financial, social, and emotional, to queer artists. It is difficult enough being an artist in our society, let alone a queer artist. In the spirit of mutualism, if we are unable to support those individuals within our society, we have no right to benefit from their insight, their beauty, or their humor. Thank you.
Thank you, Gregory. Clifton Snyder is a well-known poet in our area, and I'm delighted to introduce him as our first reader of the event. Clifton Snyder.
Thank you, Dave. I'm going to start out with two relatively recent poems and then read a couple that aren't quite so recent. I'm sure you all remember that we just passed the second anniversary of the massacre at Pulse in Orlando. This is my poem, Orlando. Today I grieve for the 20-year-old assaulted by teenagers in Long Beach, across from the queer bar so many years ago. I grieve for my friends and my ex-lover who took pills with liquor to die, who shot and gassed themselves. I grieve for the countless others who died because a callous president did nothing to provide medicine and research to offer a safe place to heal. I grieve for brothers and sisters in muggy Florida, celebrating freedom to party, to dance, to lust, to love each other, whose blood has been shed by a man who beat his wife, who loathed his own queer self, who yielded to the voices of sanctimonious hate from across the sea, who could not bear the sight of two men kissing in a public park, who purchased an AR-15 assault rifle, a handgun, with impunity, and practiced hate where there was love. Thank you. Shortly after that happened in Florida, I had the opportunity to go to Cuba and meet a friend from Facebook in person. And I dedicate this poem to him, Jorge Luis, Balm in the Cuban Night. We sit on the concrete wall marked in black graffiti, Havana's Malecón. The lighthouse of El Castillo del Morro becomes a single light between us at twilight. Arms around each other, we pose for the camera. Compelling, deep brown skin, glows with inner light. Smile of a model from Santiago de Cuba. Next to the older poet, pale with skin alight and gray mustache. Guess who that was? Lightning flashes in the distance over the city. Beyond construction cranes, he warns of the cannon boom from the castle. Thunder in the dark at 9 o'clock. Remnant of Spanish rule. Call to curfew. And so it lasts, and we take our walk. Smartphone lights the way to a ride together in the back seat of a 50s Dodge convertible. Red as the blind blood flooding my heart. Emerging magic and mystery, Cubano y Americano, making some kind of magic in the balm of the Cuban night. This one you'll remember from the election of 2008. So we marched, one kaleidoscopic mass, a line, a swirl, a curl, police with riot sticks and rifles, sirens and a loudspeaker warning us to disperse, self-designated Christian busybodies, bigots in whited worship houses, funded a campaign of crime. They used a little girl to tell their lies, deceived the blighted to believe civil rights do not include their queer brothers and sisters who voted together to bring Obama victory. One night of tears and awe, now the battle. We march, black, white, yellow, brown, red, disabled, transgender queers and friends, a multitude on Broadway, young men and women, too fresh to remember what I remember. Stonewall, the 1987 March on Washington for lesbian and gay rights, shouting to Reagan's White House, shame, 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 as we shout tonight. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. One more. I'm going to try and fit it into my time allotted. Find the right page. I won't explain because I don't have the time, but the title comes from Oscar Wilde, The Truth of Masks, and I wrote it in Taos, New Mexico, almost 8 years, years ago. As I sit, eyes closed, a woman called Titania applies makeup base to my face, chooses white and black paint, transforms my face, hence me, into a cat for gay pride Taos masquerade ball. Superior to the white cat mask I had worn, my new face protects me from a multitude of invisible things. Age, persona, marital status become unconscious as I shift into the character of a cat, a night of Halloween, 1965, and a coffee house of costumed teen queens awaiting the witching hour when the bars close and their elders come in. This very place, more than an arrangement of tables, bowling game, jukebox, bar, smoke-filled atmosphere, a veritable Satyricon where I was born again into this enchantment this very night. Thank you.
Thank you, Clifton. Next, we're delighted to have Alexis Roan Fancher. You will pay attention.
Okay, a pleasure to be here. I came out at 17 as bisexual and have never looked back. I'm going to change the pace a little bit here this afternoon and read 4 erotic poems about love. This first one was written right after the election and ended up in the New York Times. It's called I Prefer Pussy, a little city kitty ditty. I prefer pussy, as in cat, as in willow, as in chases a rat, as in raised on a pillow. I prefer pussy, as in riot, as in foots, as in pussycat doll, as in puss and boots. I prefer pussy as a twat. It is not. Nor is it a beater, a clam, or a cleaver. I prefer pussy to nookie or gash. It isn't a box or a cave or a slash. I prefer pussy to snapper or snatch, far better than taco or slit or man catch. I prefer pussy, though rosebud's not bad, and muffin sounds homey, and cooch makes me glad. I prefer pussy, as in whip, as in flower, as into it you slip, as in I have the power. Thank you. Thank you. This is from my first book, How I Lost My Virginity to Michael Cohen. Not that Michael Cohen. It's called The First Time I Made Cousin Lisa Come. Hey, Dave warned you about it.
I didn't know it was this bad.
Sure you did. We'd been playing doctor for months by then, her huge breasts a magnet, her soft mons a refuge from my impending adolescence. Some nights unable to dream, I touch myself like Lisa, replay the us hidden between twin beds in her pink frou-frou bedroom, my aunt across the hall making dinner, the door half open, my fingers 3 thick in her daughter's pussy, the pinpoint of Lisa's nipple stuck in my mouth. I'd suck, she'd moan, I'd explore, she'd explode. It was the most powerful I'd ever be. The first time I made Cousin Lisa come, we looked into each other's aloneness, the boys who didn't want us yet, the girls who shunned us like they saw something we didn't. When I let myself remember on my knees between the beds, the feast of Lisa spread before me, her steady rocking against my wrist, the rug burn that my knees endured, prepaid penance. Thank you. This is called I Want Louboutin Heels. I want Louboutin heels with their trademark red soles. I want them sexy, I want them high, I want them slingback and peep-toed so I can flash the purple polish on my tootsies. I want to wear them out of the store. Just you try and stop me. I want to wow them on Washington, saunter past C and O Trattoria and Nick's Liquor Mart, those bottles of Stoli stacked in the window, calling my name, past the summer-clad tourists in December, shivering, barefoot, like LA has no winter. In those shoes, I'm hot. Stop a truck, hot. Prettiest girl in school, hot. And this time, I know it. Flaunt it, hell, I own it. In those shoes, I can pick and choose, not settle for some loser, not drink away regrets, pound back Stoli at Shay J's, flash their scarlet bottoms when I kneel. I'll wear them like flesh, like hooves, like sin. I'll keep their secrets, won't spill where they've been. Better those shoes with their lurid soles than you with yours. If I really hurry, I can get this one in. I'm going to end with Tonight I Dream of Angelica, my first ex-girlfriend who taught me the rules of the road. Angelica comes on to me like a man, all slim, hip swagger, relentless, dangling that red 57 Chevy at me like dessert. Let me take you for a ride, chica, she says after acting class. I figure what's the harm, but Ms. Angel Food gets out of hand. I don't count on her heart-shaped ass or the brown nipples crammed in my mouth. I don't count on the Dial-O-Matic four-way power leather seats, the telescoping steering wheel, or the frantic pleasure of her face between my thighs. I admit I've always been driven to sin, but Angelica's far from blameless. She rides me hard, week after week, double clutches me into ecstasy, hip bone against hip bone, the dulcet, lingering groan of our gears grinding. When I confess the affair to my boyfriend, he jacks himself off in the galley kitchen, comes all over his unattainable fantasies. He says he doesn't consider sex between women to be cheating and begs me to set up a threesome. I tell him the T-Bird's a two-seater and watch his face fall. I could end it, but why? All I can say is I want her for myself. All I can say is I'm a die-hard romantic. Anyone I do for love. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Alexis doesn't beat around the bush, does she? Kenneth Capers is up next. Kenneth, come on down.
Good afternoon, everybody. The poem I'm going to read two poems to you. I'm actually a fiction writer, but these were the appropriate poems for today. This poem was written in response to a poem by Sharon Olds, which many people know, Sex Without Love, which all of us may know a thing or two about. And that poem starts with this question: why do they do it, the ones who make sex without love? And this is not an answer, this is kind of what it looks like. This poem is also kind of about what it is to be gay and trying to find yourself back in my day, and the club was the place to go. That was our rite of passage, but it was also a hunting ground with prey. So this poem is called In the Dark. I was attracted to you in the dark, despite my daytime memories where I was uninterested in the harsh outlines of visible you and your reality. Your complexity cloaked like a simple silhouette revolving against my central desire to touch everything and feel nothing for you is the truth I won't tell you. You match time with me on the dance floor to the drum and bass beats whose urgency propels us back and forth, pounding ever closer in our uneasy alliance and frantic compliance to this wordless music that makes me mimic the unloving thrust I will give you later in my red, eager deception and your bluesy, reluctant trust. Like a Puritan, blind to the Indian self you innocently offer, I will plunder you, injecting the disease that compels me to mate and not make love, leaving you spent and bankrupt by my sincere confusion. Your partial profile hidden away from the full glare and the disco strobe lights, fractured reflections, drew me in so that I could draw you onto whatever page of meaningless transaction where I could scribble my lust on your body and erase your hidden depths hastily, discarding the insistent clarity of you in the morning after's truth. Thank you. That wasn't me, I never did that. When I was a young undergraduate, I discovered Baldwin. And Baldwin answered questions that I had yet to form. He taught me lessons that I knew intuitively I would need later. And as a writer, that's what I hope I'll be able to do for someone. The audacity of his existence, the courage of his writing affected me as a Black gay man. And in an often hostile or worse, indifferent environment in my own community and in the larger community, he protected me. So this poem is dedicated to Baldwin, and it's about homophobia and misogyny. The title of the poem is Mercy. There are questions which resist words, that don't adhere or stick to language. Instead, these renegade thoughts slip into mute shadows. There are answers so hard to bear, they bludgeon the questioners, stampeding their soft spots, pushing at the tender places as if their inquiry were fodder for opportunistic viruses or prey for wild animals, with deadly aim getting at the jugular where the blood flow is the richest. We don't dare ask, rather we regretfully abort the interrogations, half-formed and mourn their almost lives that we have to remember to make up for when we're alone with our unfettered thoughts. Prostrate with grief on the barren floor, we seek mercy through clenched eyes that cannot contain the tears, that escape as proof of the pain, the knowing but not knowing we claim. There are hands to be held. Mercy gets us through the troubled nights. Beneath men's straining, pushing expectations exist wifely bodies that are entered and deemed more than a missionary position, but a woman's place. To be a treasured possession, love for its shiny newness leaves her mind blank with white pain that dark wooden words can't capture. She wonders how his radiant heat eclipses and even informs the insistent desire to be in her, on her, own her. Here there is no rhyme, but there are lots of reasons for Sister Moon's extinguished lights and the small, erect flagpole in her proclaiming this territory discovered. There is the rough pleasure and the sweet pain that dwells in her middle, insisting that even when she won't listen, that this isn't right. Sometimes in oblique ways, when he is spent in the wet proof all around them, she asks, "That's how I was raised," is what he says, as her soft nipple is pinched flat against his pressing limitations, index finger and calloused thumb. T-ball, Boy Scout, best friend, blood brothers, and fraternal lovers who pledge fidelity until it is discovered the quiet one likes men, not male bonding over popcorn and ESPN. I don't agree with it, is what he says, leaving the former friend to wonder how one disagrees with the air or takes offense at the wetness of water. They are split forever, and the scorned one asks himself, does he miss me? Dogmatic callers leash the ones who never know how to love, only offer intimate warm hate to those they embrace with conditions. Cuts are deepest when inflicted reasonably and with good intentions. Mercy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Next is Andrew Turner, who I'm certain you will enjoy.
Hello. I'm going to be reading from my new book, Heart, Mind, Blood, Skin. Get some short stuff going. The first one I'm going to be reading is an open letter to my gym husband. So if you go to the gym, you might probably like this one. Dear gym husband, first, thank you for working out the same hours I do. Your dedication is noted. Probably not by that bottle blonde. I mean, she likes your body, but can't appreciate you like I can. Second, I'd like you in your worn tan shirt and black shorts to know you were off the market. We're married in case you weren't aware. I'm still waiting for your proposal. You can only make eyes at me and must do so to reassure me of our tentative gym relationship. Last, please, I'm not staring, merely enjoying the views opportunity has presented me. Now, slip on this keyring with this membership tag, and I will see you tomorrow. This next one is called cyclobenzaprine, which is a muscle relaxer. Cyclobenzaprine. Half awake to a full body buzz, skin tingling, muscles like butter and lead, first time to relax in ages, and the sex dream. Two hot men, both models, one a porn star, the other presented in his underwear, and one said to the other, find your own. So why not share? Wouldn't two be best in this dream? This next one's called Over the Rainbow. It is easy to want your hand, but to take it is to cross the chasm carved by hands with familial lies. Even though I've been fighting to tell myself I am worthy to build bridges, I do not. Though I am not glass, stronger than forged steel, fragility is ingrained, shaping my direction away from pleasure. Only now do I want to break and reach for your hand, further than Kansas from Oz. This next one is called the Final Days at Zelly. A couple watches the street, drinks something dairy and sugary, cuddling on uncomfortable chairs. People stare at the pastry case, looking for a reason to splurge on their waistline because they had a rough week. The menu with prices under flimsy paper for a year, the printed, laminated menu with the current prices. Italian-inspired walls like a villa in Rome or Greece with columns support the lips and bar that separates baristas from us, the writers, and the general populace. There's a burlap-covered chair or table, and we discuss but come to no conclusion on the nature of it, though it looks more like a drum or a vase. The building across the street is finally finished, brought to a close, and ready on the outside. Okay. I'm going to read, the next one's called Your Compression Shirt. So as you can see, I have quite a few gym poems. How I long to be your compression shirt, embracing every muscular curve of your body, cupping your pectorals, running down your abdomen, stretched taut across your back, gripping your thick arms, gathered at your hips. Greedy, I would lick the sweat from your caramel skin, keep you cool, keep you warm, be the envy in the weight room. Okay, this next one is called Possess. Darkness, blanket the world, wrap me and embrace tight. Let me sink into your depth forever. Love like I want love. Cannot have my desires realized. Let the whole of your being drown my sorrow. Come, let me take you into my mouth. Go inside, fill me up until I am endless you. And since I have time, I'm going to read one last one called Sunsets as Violence. Orange stains like faded fights, smearing the sky with remembered past assaults. Red bleeds down teething mountains like those that have teethed on us. Cloud gauze kept the vaults alive long enough to heal, to wound again. And deep purples bruise the sky a lovely, violent shade in every waking moment. Every day, the ritual is repeated. The blue afternoon, our only face that says, I am okay. We are not. We lie to ourselves, to our friends, relatives, strangers, like the sky lies to us. In the dark, the night is our false hope. Lights so dim, so distant, they cannot possibly warm us with their cold gaze. And by their luminescence, we wish to guide ourselves toward a better future. But in the morning, we are here, purpled and battered, our truth written in the heavens. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. A short while ago, I had a chance to have a very small involvement with a film that really touched me. It resonated with me incredibly. It is the brainchild of a man named Hunter Lee Hughes. Very talented writer, director, actor. He's here today with one of the actors in that film, Blake Sheldon, and I will leave the rest up to them. Hunter, are you here? And there he is. It's always good when they're here when you introduce them.
Heart surgery. Last night, I dreamt that I needed heart surgery. In the dream, a surgeon used macabre tubes as visual aids to explain what was wrong with my heart and why I needed medical intervention so quickly. I woke up, panicked. I called my primary care physician to get a referral to a cardiologist. Sometimes patients intuit their own ailments. While I was on hold, I remembered Carl Jung and dream symbolism and how heartbroken I remain over you. I hung up. So, like so many of us in this audience, and like Dave, I think poetry has just been important to me, not because I'm an expert at it at all, but just because it's helped me out in my life so much. And I remember, going through some stuff and being at an IHOP in the middle of the night with Rumi poems and seeing a cute waiter smile at me and thinking the combination of those two things is enough just to keep going and to keep experiencing what life is throwing at me. So perhaps it's not an accident then that when it came time that I had an opportunity in my life, which was to make a feature film, that this feature film was about a 7-year-old boy who uses poetry and his imagination to survive a lot of difficulties. It was a movie that starred Blake Sheldon, who's here with us, and that was produced by Dave Russo, who hosted your event tonight. So I'm honored to show you the trailer of it. So thank you so much, if we can bring it up.
Watch closely.
To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die.
Dear Benjamin, I finally created something new. Forgive me.
His beauty met me like a fresh wind blowing, eyes that told secrets. Lips that would not tell them.
Where there are prophecies, they will fail. Where there are tongues, they will cease. Where there is knowledge, it will vanish.
Fearless and shy, the young unwary eye.
How long was he like that? Answer the question.
Did you suffer?
Yes.
Life must go on, though good men die.
I want to go with the one I love. I do not want to calculate the cost. I do not want to think about whether it's good.
My mother groaned, my father wept. Into the dangerous world I leapt.
So I don't know, I've talked to some filmmakers, but for me, personally, making this first feature film was a 6-year journey that was about as inspiring and heartbreaking and just an incredible journey in and of itself. So, but like everything that happens, right, you move on, and then something else has to come after that. And so last year, as this was coming to a close, I realized that it was going to take a piece of theater to make sense of this journey as a filmmaker and what it all meant. So I've written a new play called Nathaniel Quinn, Filmmaker, that's going to premiere at Highways Performance Space on August 31st. The piece is starring Blake Sheldon, and he's going to be here to just take out for a test drive the first few lines of this new play. So there you go. Thank you, Blake.
They say I died at the hospital. That's what the Avalon Fairgrounds said as an extension to the truth. That's bad instincts for business. I mean, if my fans knew that my lifeless corpse was circling on one of these carts for 3 whole minutes, they'd sell way more tickets. A junior theme park executive said as much years later and got me this plaque. It's now the second most Instagrammed item in the theme park, next to the Ferris wheel, that is. All in all, it was a good place to die. Thank you.
get there, don't worry.
Thank you to our lovely stage people.
Just a quick note, guys reading poems, we will have a CD of it, or is it a DVD? I never remember all that technical stuff. But we will have it available. Someone will win it at the raffle, and it is truly a marvelous film from a very talented man. All right, next, Dee Weingarten's going to talk a little bit about the artists in the show. She's going to introduce them and give them a moment in the sun. Dee?
Hello, Long Beach. Look at this. Turn around if you haven't. Turn around and look who all's here. This is incredible. So escaping the heat, we're here in the air conditioning. This is a beautiful, gorgeous crowd. So yeah, take a look around because this is incredible. I'm going to introduce the visual artist. We have some incredible creatives that are here today. And each of the visual artists, if you don't mind, if you could stand up so we all can kind of see you. Some of the artists all shown here, and then some will be shown at the reception. If you come to the reception, you'll have a chance to kind of meet and greet and talk to the artists firsthand. And obviously exchange business cards information. One of the things I can tell you now more than ever, particularly for queer artists and in our community, now is the time that we all support each other. If you're not a creative and you're not a collector, but you really appreciate the person's artist's work or what they stand for, or just the fact that they were here today, like them on social media, follow them on their website. If you really like it and some of their work resonates with you, make a comment on their photo, repost it, and tell your friends, hey, I met this amazing, gorgeous, talented woman named Dee Weingarten at Out Loud, and here's her art. I really want to share it with you. You know, that's obviously a great way to show support, but those are great ways that you can support us as creatives as we support ourselves. I love talking about my art. I love sharing it with everybody, but this also gives you opportunity for you to participate. Now more than ever, we really have to stand together and come tighter as a community, and particularly tighter as a creative community. Andre Chambers. David McKeague. Franklin Martin. Franklin has the jewelry. And Jeff Warner with the quilt. John Warner, and I will say also with John was the coordinator of getting all the artists together, so thank you for that. Lynn Azali, artist. Matt Heights, Matt's joining us from San Francisco. Nicholas Oliver, yes. PK Dinbow, PK's joining us from New York. Renee Capone, yay. Ron Kibble.
Oh, Ron is not.
But he left t-shirts and pins for everybody to pick up in next door.
Yes, that's right. Again, and we will show support that way. Sean Yang, sculpture. And Terry Walker. Yes. just want to say in my few little seconds remaining that I met some incredible people here today that were volunteers, that gave the incredible gift of their time to help this event be successful. Some of them introduced themselves with a part of the Imperial Court, and I'm not sure if everybody was, but I just want to say for me as a creative and for someone being here as an artist and someone who is supporting themselves now with my art, I'm speaking for myself, I really appreciate the gift of your time to come and to volunteer to help make this event successful. So it may be a thank you later, but if not, please join me and let's thank our volunteers.
We certainly have a lot of great people in our community, don't we? We really do. Thank you, Dean. Our next reader is Ursula Nikowski, and I think she's terrific. Ursula, come on up.
Thanks, Dave. Hi, everyone. I chose 4 pieces for you today. They talk about being different and being considered different, actually, because we are not different. We are all the same, right? And love. And talking about being different, I raised 2 minor children, meanwhile managing bipolar disorder. The first poem is called Causality. My father is Lebanese. He wanted a boy to carry his last name. He had 4 daughters and 1 son. When my brother was born, my father told my mother, you gave me 4 big butts and 1 cabbage head. My brother was born with Down syndrome. My father taught me how to drive when I was 12. He never taught my brother. I guess my father never thought he was raising a feminist and the man who would take care of him and my mother before they died. The next poem, before I lose my time here, okay, 5 minutes. Electra, you are just like my father. Once my father told me, never bring niggas inside of my house. They will steal my property and destroy our family. I never told my father about my first kiss. Large lips, humid, cold, humid, warm, after long-lasting interlacing with mine. Lips, black lips. Years later, I met this guy, tall, German descendant, a Kaiser. When I told my father this guy did heavy drugs, my father said, poor guy, he's a victim of society. I married this guy, he destroyed my life, myself, and my hope. I wish perhaps, innocent dream, Alice, if you think, my next man will write our story in colored ink, pencils, healing scent from childhood. Blackberry. Blackberry boys are hungry to suck for life. No patience. I was always dreaming it was over. Do girls suck differently? No rush, angel whispers. It's sweet like no one, unexpectedly removing bitter tastes, slowly peeling scars, translating theories. Ripe fruit is sweet, it's ready to be savored, penetrating those parts of me not nurtured, dissolving inside of my mouth, nurturing my cells. Blackberry intoxicating my senses, able to feed me as a real man. And this is the last one, I have 3 minutes, right? Okay. I'm not losing my track here, right? Okay, cool. I'm managing my bipolar very well, I guess. Okay, that's the last one. A good day to die. She asked me to hold her head. Damn, girl, I knew I shouldn't. But you were so sure about your request. You stared into my eyes, knowing pheromone-marinated body. I don't know what you felt. I just remember seeing you floating until nothing else could hold you. Your cold body burning on South America midsummer pavement. You flew. Now I know why you and your boyfriend did not wear a helmet, only a smile. Thank you.
Thank you, Ursula. I'm delighted that you made it here today. Thank you. Next is Jax NTP, who is one of my favorites, and I give you Jax.
So this first one found a home in Berkeley Poetry Review, issue 48. The issue's theme was locality and haunts. Bones for oracles, yours or found baby teeth unidentified. How to give name to unknown languages. How to learn a language and not know a single person who speaks it. What is sunshine but brightness that drowns out the moon? When will a rat tail poem be able to predict that this image, this one here, will be the one they feature at your funeral? House plants that thrive from humidity, self-portrait as inanimate objects, good man as construction paper. What kind of house can we afford? What kind of family can we afford? As if control fosters photosynthesis, as if reading is possession. Then I'm taking inventory of syllables that dissolves on tips of tongue, from comment to womb like a bad habit, all the way fungi contributes to drought. An arbiter, hollyhock, sails slapping. What are syllables for leafless bulbs of tulips? What is conceptual dying, and how can we grieve the abstract? Does innate anger come with intrinsic forgiveness? Poppycock, the history of wipe. As if pilgrimage is repent, found rabbitfish, renunciations, as if intangible lacks value. So in high school, I fell in love with Salvador Dali. And then in college, I discovered Garcia Lorca. And reading through his diary, I found out and discovered that their relationship, their friendship was broken once Lorca announced his love for Dali. So this piece is a historical fiction written from the point of view of Dali to Lorca. My dearest Garcia Lorca, the starchy quietness of my room is louder than the anatomy of swans reflecting elephants. Since I came back from Paris, the land outside my room is a parched mermaid contortionist. If not for the hymns of my shyness, the fulcrum of our swords would cross. Pain is the architecture of loneliness, soft and hard-boiled eggs, the small conversations I have with myself. What constitutes denial is gathered up in cloves of phantom ships. If not for the stories of my shyness, Gala would have never been my wife. When I look at the basket of bread, I see the vacillating face of war. When I masturbate to Maze West's lips, I long to call you from a poached lobster telephone. If not for the persistence of my memory, I could not paint the corals and conches for you. Ants and ants, but even my subconsciousness is not patient enough for your poetry. My brittle heart is a bobbing turtle's head, the tip of my tongue, chalk whitened from silence. What is regret but desire for chance? Diaphanous dragonflies and monochromatic confessions. The olive wind whispers your name in Sierra, and I hate that it haunts me. There is no truth in longing, only urgency. Tonight, the Catalan lights shine on binary breasts of roses, and still I live in the drawers of the burning giraffe and the penumbra of your absence. Always, Salvador Dali. So lately, as my grandma is getting older and entering her 90s, I find myself anxious to spend more time with her and have as much conversations with her as possible. And I'm working on a project that marries my love for cephalopods and my grandma. Forgetting as commodity. Forgetting as commodity. Grandma disembodies her youth as if famine isn't a weapon of war. Once she was pregnant for the 14th time, but her husband doesn't know my mother's name, from Vietnam's humidity to knowing snow in her bones, Oklahoma. She said privilege is the ability to plan your own burial plot, or to know where your ashes will be disseminated. After mating, mother octopuses starve to death. Don't starve to death. Her protoplasm betrays her. Epiphanies are nutritious, my grandmother said, if you can afford them. My frustration of inheriting cultural loss is equal to Aristotle's declaration that octopuses were dumb ocean mass. Dear three-hearted cephalopods, the reflexes of my grandmother's left fingers are gone, infected from scrounging aluminum recyclables. The past orbits her present strength. Oh, the difficulty of guessing a tree's age when admiring its crisp shadow. An octopus's production of natural pigment harms enemies and itself. Sometimes knowing where you come from only prevents growth. Old leaves fall to make space for new bulbs. What is post-fragmentation if emptiness is a pretense? What is queer visibility in commodity culture but spatial subversions? Grandma taught me that when octopuses can't escape their own ink cloud, they seize. Thank you.
Thank you, Jax. Next, talk about a trooper. Laura Edson insisted on being here. She's been in the program, but she's had some medical problems. And she was just released from the hospital only a few hours ago and insisted on coming. Laura, bless you, you are pride.
This piece is for the rare, the chronically sick, too complicated and expensive for some doctors' wit. For those who never made it and those who still endure, myself included, here are my words. To the doctors who keep almost killing me, take note. I am not a page in your textbook. Trust me, I'm a fucking book. We're talking volumes, encyclopedia sitting dusty on your bookcase you don't care to read because now we have Google. But do me a favor and put in a search for your soul. Tell it to come home, damaged or in control, because you lost it. Somewhere in between the waiting room and your words. They stick like adhesive on my skin. Cotton swabs and alcohol couldn't begin to cleanse the damage you place with every sentence you complete. For I'm that anomaly you don't like to mention. The difference between facts and opinions is what pills down my throat. that question my existence. I could go on for days without ending the amount of malpractice I've witnessed over and over and over again when it shouldn't. So trust me when I say what doesn't kill me better run, for your Hippocratic oaths are just words rolled off tongue. Your truth got severed by silent blue lips, but those that were mine regained their color. So this breath that I now breathe will be the pitfall to your end, because your doctoring days, sir, will soon just be a number on a page in my book you never tried to discover. But at least I still breathe Earth's air, and not the dirt in the ground, decaying skeletons you laid there. But tell me, did you find your soul yet? Maybe pick up a book. Is it hidden in the pages of the ones who fell pale, obituary pages of the patients who didn't make it, many of them children, little girls lay vacant while parents cry, never ever to awaken, for you cannot sew a soul to its feet like Peter Pan to his shadow? So tell me again why it's your opinion that matters. For the chronically sick, your Google search couldn't label. You make up words just to get us off your exam table. We're just bodies in bags you cannot wait to zip. But at least I can say my soul did not slip. So Google a little longer. You'll find we do exist. But as for your soul, sir, I don't think you'll find it. So, thank you. That's the only one I'm doing for right now. Hopefully we will be well enough to do music next door. Oh, turned off? No, it didn't. Yeah, so.
Laura Edson, you're amazing. Wow is right. She was sending me text messages over the last 2 weeks. I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there. I'm gonna be there, I don't know what I'll wear, but I'll be there. Son of a bitch, she was here. Next up, our final poet for the stage program is Henry Medina. Henry? Oh, there you are. Just a little confession, I forgot my glasses on the dining room table where I put them so I wouldn't forget to bring them.
I remember my glasses. I want to thank Dave for having this event and for Nancy for putting this together and inviting me here. When I was 16, I was afraid that I was going to get kicked out of the house for being gay. And I know that there's a lot of, young gay and lesbians that deal with this issue. So the first piece is about that. It's titled, Father's Anger When He Finds Your Stash. Ditch AP history. Arrive home when no one's there. Walk across your living room. Listen to floorboards squeaking. Admit your life is empty. Separate your mother's hand-sewn curtains that serve as closet doors. Take out the green suitcase that smells like your abuelita. Pull the sun-kissed crate from the dresser with a missing drawer. Pack underwear, socks, shirts, and only 2 pairs of pants. You can wear jeans many days in a row without anyone noticing. Scramble at the back of the crate for your cologne, and then feel foolish. What good is perfume on the streets? Though you already checked for the dirty mags that fucked up everything, go to the bathroom, lift the cardboard box of your sister's shampoos, and make sure there's nothing left behind. Open the medicine cabinet, pluck the yellow toothbrush from the cup, erasing one more clue that at one time you lived here. Before leaving, glance at the table where you played loteria with your family. Zip up your sweatshirt, then put your hoodie over your head. Remember the route. Take the 31 to the 4, which takes you all the way to West Hollywood. Don't picture the grimaces of disgust on your sisters and mom will make when they find out the truth about you. Exhale through your mouth and squeeze the $80 in your pocket. The next poem was inspired by Dave because one of the things he mentioned was that the reason he's doing this to remember our history. And so it made me think when I was younger and a lot of people didn't know what AIDS was and a lot of the medications weren't working. So that's what this piece is about. It's titled, We Didn't Have Words. We didn't have the words protease inhibitors. We hadn't heard the phrase cocktail of drugs. In our living rooms, IVs tick like clocks, counting down our days. The light entered through the window, as in a Caravaggio painting, bringing out rich amber tones in the grain of the floorboards, which, for inexplicable reasons, made us momentarily forget. Our names weren't initials yet. Later, much later, they carved the letters AZT, OIKS into our marble headstones. We didn't know how to listen to the wind without hearing the rattle of cemeteries. If we fell like men, on knees, on rocks that stung like daggers, or we fell sideways, without a fuss, in the valley of oblivion. We didn't have the word PrEP. We hadn't spoken post-exposure prophylaxis. When we opened up to each other, our souls barely held us together like a hinge. We accepted any symptom of love, even if it came with blue blotches on our chests. In those first days, when we were young, we curled up in the back seats of cars, writing into each other's bodies with a pen of our cocks the words, "Forgive me." Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you. The LGBTQ Center of Long Beach is the recipient of our inaugural Rivera Milk Award. Named in honor of Sylvia Rivera and Harvey Milk, this award honors those businesses and organizations which do exemplary work on behalf of our community in advocating for and supporting equality and well-being. Here to accept the award is Porter Gilberg, Executive Director of the Center. Porter, would you come up? I should have had this up and ready, but
Thank you. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Porter. I'm the executive director of the LGBTQ Center. We're right next door, and we are honored to host the reception immediately following this program. Huge thanks to Dave and to everybody for the inaugural Out Loud Cultural Arts performance. We know at the center we can't do it all, so members of the community coming together to create queer and trans arts programming, as many LGBTQ organizations, as many LGBTQ people as we have coming together to build our community, strengthen our community. We need everyone together, especially during this time, to support one another, to create opportunities to build community, and to create a more affirming Long Beach for everyone. So we are incredibly honored to accept this award from Out Loud, and we're here to support Out Loud, support other queer and trans artists, to support other queer and trans organizations, and we look forward to collaborating and supporting and continuing the fight for equity for LGBTQ people here and everywhere. Thank you.
Dr. Clifton Snyder is the recipient of our inaugural Lord Whitman Award, named in honor of two literary giants, Audre Lorde and Walt Whitman. This award is given to that individual who has made outstanding contributions to the arts and community activism. Clifton Snyder has read for us already here today, but I think we can get him back up on stage to accept his award. Clifton.
I was told to hold this up. Beautiful. Can you hear me? I have a few words to say.
4 pages. Oh.
Well, we do have some extra time. You don't mind. I really am. First, I want to thank Dave and Nancy and everybody who has worked so hard to make this happen. All the volunteers, these things don't happen. All the volunteers and everybody, I thank deeply. And I really feel honored and blessed to get this award and humbled. I did write a few words down here this afternoon. When I was a teenager, I came out in the old sense of the word, which meant I started having sex with guys. The word gay was a sort of a code word amongst us for homosexual. And in those days, you could joke about it with a fellow queer. I remember at the shoe store I worked at when I was in school, one of the cashiers said, "Oh, that's such a gay tie you have." And my gay mother and I would chuckle, over that kind of thing. Those days are long gone. And the days when uniformed policemen came and raided the bars, which they did routinely, thank goodness, are gone. I never dreamed we'd have marriage equality, but now, as it's been alluded to several times tonight, this afternoon, those benefits and rights have been threatened by what's happening now in our political system. And all my life, in my adult life, since I came out, equality and acceptance have been goals of mine. It took me a while to come out as a poet publicly, about 40 years ago, I guess, or something like that. But it's just something that we all need. I mean, we're not, as you know, I feel like preaching to the choir, but we're not asking for anything special that anybody else doesn't have, just equality and acceptance, not tolerance, but acceptance. Amen. Thank you again for giving me.
Before we conclude, we're going to sneak in a little something. Jennifer, are you here? Yeah. Very good. Jennifer Abbott is a noted filmmaker, writer, and community activist, and she has a few words to share with us. Jennifer?
In 1990, I was part of a group of people in Boston that organized the conference for Audre Lorde in her lifetime. And it hosted 1,200 people from 23 countries, men, women, and young activists. We didn't have a penny to start with, nothing. And Angela Bowen, at the time, was my partner, and M. Jackie Alexander, and somehow, with the host, both of them black, one Jamaican and the other just American black, Boston Brown, they seemed to be able to generate volunteers and raise the money to create an event that I recorded and made into a film called The Edge of Each Other's Battles, The Vision of Audre Lorde. So I knew Audre Lorde, I worked with Audre Lorde, I recorded Audre Lorde stuff. I was gonna wear an Audre Lorde necklace that she gave to Angela. I demurred, but the point I'm trying to make is, nothing like that existed, nothing like this existed. It takes volunteers, it takes money, it takes commitment. And Dave is committed to making this a yearly event. Ours was a one-time conference. If you want to see this happen again, with more diversity of art, music, more poetry, bringing in across the ages, the young ones, the teenagers. We've had a couple of my age people, which is really good. I bless you, my dear. And talking about sex at our age is really a miracle. So please, I don't know how you're going to be able to donate money at the center. I don't know how you're going to do that. We had to pay for the theater. The center donated the center, and the food has been donated, but money comes from someplace, so help with that. And if you're interested in participating and making something happen for next year to continue to build an arts community in this time when we're all really under major stress, this is a great place to meet everybody that's in this room and to bring more people in. We're going to have a sign-up sheet at the center. Dave, I just met you, and you're my brother. I love you. Thank you so much for being here and for choosing this to be the event that you came to today. So dig in and participate. Thank you.
I'm going to read one short piece for you. It was suggested to me by a number of people that this might be appropriate, and it is, in my opinion, also. Artist's World. We are spirits of temptation, explorers of other realms, guides to inspire, repel, transform. Will you be seduced? Will you gasp, pivot quickly away, wrinkle your nose, smirk, swear, or retch? Art does not care. We shamelessly flaunt, parade naked before you. Scar, scandal, suspicion, and nonsense.
We fearlessly brandish our titles: poet, painter, prisoner, and outcast. Impaled upon not so tender mercies, can we trust there is art in your soul? As we conclude the stage portion of this first Out Loud Festival, I'd like to take care of a couple of housekeeping matters, so bear with me without my glasses. As Jennifer already mentioned, outside in the lobby you'll find a short survey which we will use to make our next event shine even brighter. A sign-up sheet for those interested in hearing more about Out Loud or perhaps participating in our group will also be there. Those will also be available at the center, so you can get it here in the lobby or sign up at the center. Volunteers will be handing out tickets for that as you exit the theater. At the reception, you will be given a free raffle ticket and a chance to win some really amazing prizes donated by local individuals, businesses, and there will, of course, as promised, be food, wine, and a musical performance. We need to be mindful of the fire code, so feel free to wander in and out of the reception. I don't think we're going to have a problem, but just in case, you can take your food out on the street, but not the wine. There are so many people and organizations to thank, all sharing with me a vision of what this community can accomplish. A heartfelt thank you to my husband, Greg Hammer. Honey, would you stand up? He put up with 2 months of chaos, uncertainty, doubt, crankiness, and just about every other emotion you could imagine. He's not doing it just for the last 2 months, he's been doing it for 34 years. So God bless him. I also want to thank our two very generous benefactors, Dan Dodson in Provincetown and Greg Wetzel from Long Beach. Greg, would you please stand up and let everybody thank you? Thanks, too many thanks really than I could possibly promote here. We had a number of people help tremendously. When it was very clear that I either got help or wound up in an institution, I quickly chatted with a few people who came on board with great enthusiasm and competence too. Our promotions manager, Nancy Lene Wu, where are you, Nancy? She's amazing. Thank you, Nancy. Our art coordinator, Mr. John Weiblinger, right here. People were laying odds that one or the other of us would kill each other. He may yet, I don't know. We're good, okay. Our reception and event liaison, Frankie Martin. Where are you, Frank? Right here. Thank you, Frank. Our graphic designer, David McKee. You are where? There you are. Thank you, David. Ra Avis and Bill Friday. Are you here? They're with Laura? Okay, they're tending to Laura Edson. Great. Long Beach Mayor Robert Garcia and California Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom, who are both very supportive. And yeah, they're not here, but our amazing sponsors and co-hosts. the LGBTQ Center of Long Beach. This marvelous art theater here. Lola's Mexican Cuisine. The fabulous Jules and Hamburger Mary's. The Socialist. And fourth, Long Beach Grassroots Art and Media. They're a nonprofit under which we operate. Really grateful for them. Our wonderful volunteers from the center and the Long Beach Imperial Court. Yes. All of our generous GoFundMe supporters. Our performers and artists. And most importantly, each and every one of you who bravely face the world every day and celebrate your own uniqueness. See you next door and next year. Thank you.